Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. It's my pleasure to introduce Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley.
And separately but relatedly, is Ukraine going to get enough equipment and enough time and have a big enough force on the ground to be able to have a serious counteroffensive?
Thanks, Felicia. In terms of whether or not Russia is massing its aircraft for some massive aerial attack, we don't currently see that. We do know that Russia has a substantial number of aircraft in its inventory and a lot of capability left. That's why we've emphasized that we need to do everything that we can to get Ukraine as much air defense capability as we possibly can. And recently, you've seen us step up and offer Patriots. You've seen other countries come forward with SAMP-T and IRIS-T, but it's not enough, and we're going to keep pushing until we get more because that threat is out there. But again, many countries have stepped up to the plate thus far. Our effort currently is to get these capabilities into country as quickly as we can, and then integrate those capabilities so we truly have an integrated air and missile defense capability. And I would add that Ukraine's done a credible job of intercepting a lot of the rockets and missiles that have been launched by Russia in those recent attacks. But again, we want to make sure that they have the ability to protect themselves going forward in the event that Russia tries to introduce its air force into this fight. They haven't done so thus far because Ukraine's air defenses have been pretty gosh darn effective, as you know.
So, Felicia, on whether or not the Russians have the capability and equipment, et cetera, to continue the attack in the Donbass, they are attacking in the Donbass right now. Their progress is slow. It's a war of attrition. They're taking heavy casualties. Their leadership and morale is not great, and they're struggling mightily. However, they do have numbers, and as you know, President Putin did a call-up of several 100,000, and those folks have been arriving on the battlefield. So they do have numbers, and whether or not they're successful in pressing the fight, that remains to be seen. But that fight has been going on, and it's a slow, grinding battle of attrition in that general area. For the Ukrainians, I don't want to project forward what the Ukrainians may or may not do. As you know from this particular conference here, we are plussing that up with a significant amount of capabilities with ground maneuver, artillery, et cetera. What they do with that, that'll be up to the Ukrainians in the coming weeks and months.
We have time for one more. Let's go to Marcus Price, ARD Television.
Thank you very much. One question to Secretary Austin about the stance of the U.S. when it comes to delivery of fighter jets. And President Biden said no to the delivery of F-16. Also earlier in the conflict, when Poland offered to deliver MiG-29 via Ramstein to Ukraine, I think the U.S. stopped it. Has this position evolved? Do you encourage countries to do so if they want to, or do you assess the risk is too high? So what is the U.S. position on other countries delivering fighter jets? And to Chairman Milley, the Russian offensive we're seeing, what do you see so far? Is this very serious? Is it different than what we saw in the past? And do you have any intelligence whether we are going to see another attempt of the Russian forces to capture Kiev? Thank you.
Thanks, Marcus. For the record, with respect to any kind of aircraft being provided by Poland, the United States never stopped Poland from providing anything. A decision to provide something that's the decision made. That will be a decision made by the leadership of that country. That's certainly not something that we can or will dictate. In terms of whether or not we're going to provide F-16s, as I said earlier, I don't have any announcements to make, and I don't have anything to add to what our president said earlier. So, and I'll just leave it at that. So.
And Marcus, on the issue of the Russian offensive, this offensive that you see ongoing right now, generally in the Bakhmut area, From Kharkiv all the way down to Kyrgyzstan, the front line is quite stable, even though very violent, a lot of fighting. It's relatively stable. Most of the dynamic movement back and forth is generally in the vicinity of Bakhmut. The Ukrainians are holding. They're fighting the defense. The Russians, primarily the Wagner Group, are attacking. But there's what I would describe it as is a very significant grinding battle of attrition with very high casualties, especially on the Russian side. There's no fancy arts of maneuver going on here. This is frontal attacks, wave attacks, lots of artillery with extremely high levels of casualties in that particular area. And how long that will last is difficult to say, actually. It's been going on for weeks, and I think it'll continue to go on until either the Russians culminate. I don't think the Ukrainians will just collapse or fold. I think they're going to continue to fight. So that's a battle that we're paying attention to very, very closely and making sure that the Ukrainians have the capability to continue to defend. As far as Kyiv, I'm not going to go into what intelligence we have or don't have. I would just say that right now there's always a potential threat. There's clearly air threats, missile attack threats. Kyiv is the capital, and that was a significant objective early in the war. So I would never discount Russian capabilities to attack Kyiv, but right now we're not seeing any significant indicators and warnings.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have available today. This concludes our press briefing.